To start early and
No, we can't.
Councilor.
Well, this is all gonna be live, you got 2 seconds.
so you
It's
said
advertised that way, we have to follow instructions. I'm sorry, I have to be the better bearer of that.
Councilor Moore voted, we move early. He has the gavel.
Once I get my fingers working. Now we're all set.
Okay, we can begin our work session. I'd just like to bring up one thing before we start. Bill, you know, we only have 3 more meetings for this year, but I don't see why you would need to be here before 10 of or something. We could still go through all the things.
Well, that was my question when I saw this a few months ago, but
Yeah.
I mean,
We'll have
it
to,
worked out well for starting at 5. We would typically finish by 5:30 the latest.
but we have to follow the meeting structure, I'm sorry, but we can ask, if you want, Jeff will, I can ask Dean and.
Well, I mean, for the future meetings, what I'm saying is you could probably come closer, much closer to 5.
But we have to change the schedule.
So she said he can't.
Yeah, because we've got.
No, not our work session,
Oh, you mean,
your part of it,
okay.
because we're gonna vote on it, you're gonna give your reports.
We can't do that, Jeff, unless we change, because that was the organizational rule meeting. We schedule, you know what I'm saying? That's the same thing that we did when we voted. You vote on the schedule for the year. So what I'm saying is if we want to do that, I think we can just, we would have to just do a resolution or whatever for next time, or I can ask,
Okay,
I'll ask Dean before next time.
why don't we plan on doing that, because Bill's time is valuable, and
That's not Bill.
everybody's time is valuable.
But typically, we could cover this in 30 minutes easily. That's what we normally did. So if you had it from 5 to 6.
Can I just ask, Jeff, is what you're saying and what you're asking that the counselors all be here at 4:30?
Well-
Because if Mr. Tracy doesn't have to be here?
You know, there are only 3 more meetings, and we could, yeah, we could do that where, you know, we could just
Is that allowed?
start Bill's portion of it, or we could eliminate the work sessions. I mean, that's gonna be up to you guys, all of us.
We
What I'm
just have
saying,
to, we just have to change the
We
structure of
would
this
have,
meeting.
we have to make a resolution
So we'll have to do,
like
you
that.
know, and then for next year in the organization meeting, we'll have to make that change. But yeah, we can just go forward. You have to just tell me what we're gonna do for the meeting, and then, we would change that structure, I believe, and I'll just double check with you if that's what we can do. But we would have to advertise that we're changing the MLB meeting structure and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we got 3 more months to get that fixed up, so, but is it whatever, you know, everybody's wishes are on that.
I think we already changed the schedule. I mean, we were supposed to have a meeting Halloween night. But I understand some councilors want to go trick or treating Halloween night, so
Yes,
we did it the night before.
But now we just have, this is different because just the structure of the
Okay.
how the meetings are set.
So we'll have to
So for the
suffer
year.
through this one,
Yeah,
or we'll have to start the
So I just need
MLB
to know-
meeting at
before we, I just need to know how you want to,
5:30.
structure the meeting. So what time is this meeting gonna start for MLB board meeting, and then I'll go to Dean and say, do I need to do a resolution for that, or?
So we could have a work session start at 5 o'clock in this resolution and then move into the council meeting on idea 5:30. You mentioned,
Is that what you want? Yeah.
that sounded like what you're thinking, Jeff, with all.
Well,
Well-
if we're gonna have a work session, I mean, what I usually bring gets done within 30 minutes. I mean, most of you have been here for a couple of years, you know that. We get through fairly fast.
Well, they're building in the work sessions on the other meetings, so that there's an hour for them to do the work.
Well, yeah,
session.
but they got longer they got a longer agenda.
But that's what I'm saying, so that's what we would follow the same structures, if you do, even though yours are all done. you know,
Well, you can start with work sessions at 5, start the meeting at 5:15.
council. Like that?
Yeah.
If you're all good with that, there's 4 or 5 of you here, so I can say that some majority. So we're doing work session at 5:15, and then the meeting at 5:30 for ML four.
Julie,
Seems fine with me.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Beth, for keeping us on track.
And then I'll just double check how we have to do that, if we can just do it as a change, because I advertised the meetings already, you know.
Okay, so we could,
I
that
don't know.
would be
I don't know.
our
if it-
first thing we do at our work session is, make sure to make a motion to,
We
not
could do
at
that.
this meeting, but
Actually, you could do that in your meeting, is we could propose I'll just check the team, see.
He's not here, so run it through him.
I will check,
Then you do have a council meeting next week, so.
I can just add it to.
yeah, we plan on that, those meetings, we know it's, what time, see, get this straight, work session at, what was it, 4:50,
5:15,
5:15,
and start the meeting at 5:30.
meeting at okay.
That was the only question I had for the work session. We're done.
Well, we can stop at any time. I was, just one other thing that I had was, you know, I was gonna try to start making a list of, I know we forget things that we were working on, like something comes up, 3 meetings later, we're like, we forgot all about it, and we don't get back to it. I know one thing that jumps right into my mind is a liaison committee with the college or some kind of a meeting together. I know I learned a lot from going there. I didn't realize, Jacob was there also. You know, the kids were afraid to come downtown, some of them, because they thought we were a hostile bunch.
We were,
Well, not the council, but
Just yet.
just, but it was something, it was a good learning experience because the people here in the city kind of fear them walking by their yard and taking things off the porch or whatever. And come to find out, half of the students were afraid of us, so. And I think there's a lot of intellectual capital there that, you know, we could utilize. I know in the past we've had, and I'm not trying to suggest that's what we do, but we had, you know, people working with us, like interns type of a thing here, that helped us out and would help them. So, you know, it's kind of a waste that we don't keep in better touch with them. I know I met with the campus police a couple of times on a liberal communities group, and they had a lot of good information for us. Like, I didn't know where they could go, what they do. They're actual police officers. Technically, they could, you know, arrest a speeder, chase them downtown or something, but they don't generally do that sort of thing.
Wasn't there, you know, that administration looking for internship ideas?
Yeah, I think I would call it.
Is the city part of that?
I'm not sure.
You could, you know, to make sure that it's on their radar, basically, to assign students they're interested in.
can I ask, Mr. Tracy, a question on something, one of the resolutions, am I allowed?
You are allowed.
The wooden
You have a
utility,
question?
the wooden utility poles, where are they going?
They're going into stock.
Oh, is that?
I have no, what that bid is for is ordering 24 45-foot poles and 24 40-foot poles.
So that's just.
Unfortunately, Peach never had it hidden by poles around here, like they did Sunday night late. And then we had a tree last night, was a problem.
I get to see a telephone pole get hit pretty much live.
Well, usually the pole usually wins, but this case, it was like 11:30 PM Sunday night on South Peru there by Monty Street. It was an individual driving a Silverado, and he rammed the pole dead center. And he shattered the pole at the bottom, and about 35 feet up the pole, it also cracked. I mean, the pole was kind of like this. We had called crews in, we had two houses that were in darkness because we had to take the transformer off the broken pole, get a new pole installed, and get that transformer transferred over and get them reconnected. We had most of the work done by 6 a.m. Monday morning.
Yeah, what I saw, they snapped it clean off at the ground.
Yeah, usually if it's a car, the pole usually survives. The car usually is not in much shape. In this case, with the Chevy truck pickup, neither one of them survived in this case.
When we redo streets, are we burying the power lines?
No.
Yeah.
The only time we ever do it is when we're doing new subdivisions.
Is there a reason?
Yeah, people don't want transformers in their front yards and stuff like that, and the cost is exorbitant for doing that kind of stuff. So it's easy when you have an open field and they've laid the lots out and there's nobody there, you can plan where to put the transformers and stuff, so when they do buy the property to build a house, the transformer's already there, and they know it's there. It's trying to put it in after the fact, well, when somebody's there. Nobody wants it in their front yard or backyard, they want it in their neighbor's yard. Because it's-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but I mean, wouldn't the cost, I mean, it's a sunk cost to have the poles up, but we have to replace them every.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
only if they hit them. But it's the, putting everything underground isn't a sure-all either.
No.
Because you have problems with rodents, you have problems with the water table and freezing. People run heavy vehicles on it. We've had lines fail because people have run across our lines, even though they're marked, they run heavy vehicles, they damage them. And like I said, in winter, if you have a faulted line, it's very difficult to find the problem, and then it's frozen in the ground, so then you gotta run it above the ground until it unfreezes.
Right,
I mean, there's no really solution to all that.
right,
Plus the cost, like I said,
is more.
is more. They had talked over a decade ago, they wanted to do Hamilton Street when we were redoing the line down there. And we said, okay, we'll put it underground, but then nobody wanted the transformers in their front yard. They're gonna get a big green box or a switching box, that's gonna have to be in their front yard. And if you've been down Hamilton Street, most of the houses down there, their front yard is basically a postage stamp to start with.
Yeah,
And it would be filled up by that transformer.
right,
They said, sure, we want it, but my neighbor's house.
yeah, put it over there.
Yeah, so in the end, the council and mayor told us, put it overhead, put it back overhead again, across the street from those houses,
Right.
and that's what we did. So basically, like I said, we do it on the, lately what we've been doing, so it's pretty much built up now, has been over on the new base, where they built the new houses over there. A good portion of that we put underground
Right,
there.
and downtown, right, Murder Street is all.
Oh, yeah, downtown is underground.
Yeah, I have another question for you, Bill. I noticed the Rex and Zex, they're different every month.
Yep.
What is that based on?
The NYSERDA comes up with the cost per kilowatt hour, and it's every utility is built based on how many kilowatt hours they wind up selling to the customers. And then that's transferred then to the customer's bill based on what the kilowatt hours we use. But NYSERDA comes up with the number every year, and then they do a reconciliation in April for both the Rex and the Zex to see if they collected enough money. If they didn't collect enough money, then in the June bill that we get in July, we'll get a bill for them for additional funds to cover what they should have collected. If they collected too much, then they will, typically what they do is typically reduce the amount of rate that we have to pay that given year. Last year, however, they did a little different, they gave us a credit for 2 months because they collected 2 months the year before. So, but they did raise again in January. I mean, last year, which started again in January, they went up about $14 per megawatt hour in the anticipated cost.
So it's loosely based on our usage?
Well, they come up with a number based on what they believe solar and wind farms have to be built. So that they come up with a number, but it's applied to our bill based on whatever the percentage they come up with. It's the same number across the entire state through all the utility, and it gets the kilowatt hour usage. That's what they multiply by to come up with the money. So it's then passed to the utilities, we then pass it to the customers, paid in the bill. And unfortunately, it's only going up. Well, yeah, well, they've got so many projects in the pipeline right now. Until those projects are completed, once they're completed, then they will pass them all on. For example, there's $18 billion worth of transmission line work that's being done over the next couple of years. Once those transmission lines are built, the cost of that will then be passed on to the ratepayers throughout the state of New York. The ocean wind farms that they're building, the first one supposedly is going to be ready about 2026. Once that comes online, they will start then adding those costs to everybody's bill across New York State. So electricity is going to get very expensive in the future.
It should be less, it's a wind farm.
Uh,
I said it should be less, it's a wind farm.
Yeah. To replace 1 megawatt of turbine power, be it hydro, natural gas, oil, it takes 3 megawatts of wind power or 6 megawatts of solar to be up on comparison. And to electrify everything in New York State, they're looking at somewhere around 124 gigawatts of power. Right now, they can only put out 37 gigawatts of power, and the transmission lines as they are today, can only handle 30 gigawatts. So in the summertime, when it gets real hot, like in around 98, 100 degrees, they start asking for people to conserve and cut back because they can't go beyond 30 gigawatts. Otherwise, they're going to have rolling blackouts or something because the power lines won't take it.
Right.
Too much. Plus, then also they're asking with people who are in the demand response program to shut down their businesses and so forth, and sell their power back to the New York ISO, Independent System Operator, who's running the transmission lines, because they need a lot of power downstate for New York City.
Right. What's your perspective?
So I'll ask you the $67,000 question. How are we making out this winter? It's been a record warm winter. We exceeded our allotment at all this year yet?
We did have to buy in the month of January 525,000 kilowatt hours of power supplemental. We had that one little cold snap there in January. But our demand, we stayed under the total demand by the skin of our teeth, literally. We didn't cross it, so we didn't have to buy any demand. And the cost associated with that went both to the crypto mining operations. Right.
Wait, what, because of the,
Yeah, when we have to buy supplemental power, the cost for the supplemental power up to whatever they're using, gets charged to them. For example, if we had to buy, let's say, make the math easy, 7 million kilowatt hours of supplemental power, but the cryptos use 5 million, they would have to pay for the more expensive 5 million, and then the remaining 2 million would then be applied to the rest of the customers. This way, we don't have a situation where the other ratepayers are subsidizing the crypto mining operations like we did the winter of 2017. They showed up on the scene.
Yeah.
They don't like it, but that's the fact of life, unfortunately.
Yes, it is.
I guess I got one more.
Okay?
Oh, hey, you're holding this up, so.
But the IEEP program, that's still in effect? Like,
Yes.
We used to be able to go downstairs in the office and put in a form to, we get the form there.
Or,
Send it in.
well, you
I could
can,
get an air conditioner.
Yeah,
air
it's still
conditioner.
fun. I think they have some downstairs, but most customers, text me or email me, and, we mail it out to them, or we send it by email to them.
Oh, modern times, didn't know that.
So yes, the program is still in effect.
Yeah, I find that a good encouragement for people to get more energy efficient appliances.
Of course, some people get upset because some things fall off, like, water heaters did a few years ago. There used to be two types of water heaters. There was the cheap brand, and then there was the energy efficient one. And the energy star one was a little bit more money, so the purpose of the rebate was to get people to buy the more expensive one. But then the governor banned the cheaper ones, and as a result, NYSERDA dropped it from their program, and the IEP program follows the NYSERDA program, so they wound up being dropped from ours as well. Because you can only buy the Energy Star today.
Yeah, well, they're as efficient as they can be at this point.
Well, you can get the heat pump version, but that's usually several $1,000s to buy one of those. If you had the choice, you didn't want it, I don't know what a 80-gallon one goes for, $800 or something like that. I think the heat pump version's like $2,000 or $3,000. That's the most efficient. There is still a rebate if you go that route. Won't cover the whole price, but it'll give you something on there.
Well, I see those things popping up all over the place. Is it really
They're minis.
a good, yeah.
Minis, let's say.
Is
It's
it
the same
really a
concept.
good idea are they really worth getting? I know, like I say, I see them. popping up.
Yeah, I mean, on the air conditioning side, no problem. On the heating side, as long as the temperature stays about 10 degrees or more, they work fine. When you get below 10 and go below freezing, they have a hard time keeping up with the temperature there. In fact, they'll almost continuously run, and over time, they will burn out their compressors. So what mechanical suppliers tell you, you need to keep your existing heating system in place as a backup on those days when the weather goes 20 below, 30 below outside. But most of the time, you can run it with the thing. We have it on several parts of our building at Sharon Avenue. Our main building is going to get it. Well, the heat pumps finally showed up. It took over a year to get them. Supply chain issue again. So they're sitting on our loading dock. They will go get installed probably around May timeframe because we have to shut the heat down for a week while they're taking the gas heaters off the roof, removing the gas line, and we got to run electrical lines up, and then we got to put those in and certify them. So we will probably be doing May and June timeframe that work. And our main building at Sharon Avenue will be then on a heat pump system. But I have heard people that have them, there's no complaints about the air conditioning. They say it's great. But I did talk to one user and they said, yeah, every couple of years, they got to replace the compressor because it does burn out.
Just like they do with refrigerators. They used to have
Well, that's,
compressors that
that
lasted
gets back to the
20,
Energy
50
Star
years.
rating. They give you an Energy Star rating, but a lot of times in refrigerators, they want to power the condenser at the Energy Star rating. The condensers burn out earlier than they normally do because they want a small thing. That's what I heard.
Well, it's like everything else, it goes with the bell curve. Some will burn out an average time, some will burn out early, some will burn out longer.
Right.
It goes with almost everything.
monopolize all the questions, but
Beth will do some tap dancing there.
well, I hope everybody's getting some questions together for regarding redistricting.
Oh, the meeting on Monday?
Yeah, I spoke with the guy, and they do a newsletter, and they pass it around to all the state agencies, pertinent state agencies. And we've been in the newsletter already once, about how we didn't get it done on time. But anyway, if you do have some questions, I try to get them together. I've been making a list also. Make sure we don't waste the guy's time, because he's a pretty busy guy.
So Jeff, as we move into further topics, do you have any more questions for MLD? So Mr. Tracy can sit down.
Yeah, well,
I just want to make sure we cover what we want to cover, and then we can go
well, we
into,
could make sure.
because I agree with you, we should talk about those issues there.
All the districts together, if we have anything.
I don't have any more questions.
Yeah, I hope everybody reads that financial report. That's a really good report. Kind of keeps us posted on, you know, what we've been spending our money on. And unfortunately, it also points to the costs continuing to rise. And, you know, sooner or later, we're gonna hit a cold winter. Everybody's gonna get a wicked shock of,
Well, that's what happens with that, when we were talking about the supplemental power. If you have if you have a cold winter, you will buy a lot of supplemental power. But the following year, if you have a mild winter, then you will buy very little supplemental power. But the following year, if it's a really cold winter again, you're gonna be buying a lot more supplemental power. Because like on the energy usage, the determination whether it's supplemental or it's hydro is determined based on what happened the previous year. So if you got a mild year and you're going into a very cold year, electric is going to go up. And so we're going to have to buy supplemental either demand and energy usage. This year so far, knock on wood, we've only had to buy a little bit of a little bit of energy usage. So supplemental.
Get the bookends thing going on, shorter winter.
Yeah, I don't know if you know how the billing is, how the New York Power Authority bills us. One person, one time I talked to, thought there was a running tote board on how that thing was, how the electric bill was figured out based on the usage of the city. And I said, nope, that's not how it's done. For example, in the month of January, you have 31 days. That equals out to 744 1-hour periods. What they do, for example, the demand, you take a 1-hour period and you'll have peaks and valleys because the amount of power being used will go up and down. And you'll have 744 of them. So the computers have to go back through to each 1-hour period and pick out which was the highest peak that 1-hour period. They go through the whole month and they'll end up then with 744 1-hour periods with the peak in each one of those periods. Then they have to go back and compare and figure which peak was the highest in those 1-hour periods. And that's what the demand charge is based on. Energy usage is a little more complicated. It still goes on the 1-hour period. What they do is they look at the meter for each 1-hour period, how much power was used in that 1-hour period. Then they have to go back to that same 1-hour period a year earlier and see what happened during that 1-hour period. Now, if the current one is equal to or less than what was done the year before, it's hydropower. But if the amount of energy used in that 1-hour period in the current year is higher than the year before, then the difference is supplemental. So I had one individual said, can't you figure it out in the back of an envelope? No. It takes high-speed computers 2.5 weeks to come up, because at the end of the month, we don't usually get the bill till about the 15th of the following month. Basically, because they have to go through all those gyrations. So it's not something you can figure out on a calculator on your head. And the meters, 75% of where the power comes through, we don't have access to those meters anyhow. They're up at at Beacon Town, the New York Power Authority substation. We do have one meter for the PS1 line feeds St. Lawrence 2, and that one's there. That's probably about 20 to 25% of the power of the city comes through the Plattsburgh Saranac line. The only reason it's not up at Beekman Town like the others are is the Power Authority owns that transmission line, and there's other customers off of it. So the meter has to be at our substation. Whereas for St. Lawrence 1, we own the two transmission lines that run up to Beekman Town, and consequently, there's nobody else on it but us, so that's why the meter's at that location.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment too, with the New York State Legislature and the mayor are having somewhat of an existential crisis because they're coming to terms with the fact that they cannot meet the ambitious goals they had for renewable energy. It's not even close. I'm sure Bill's fully aware of that, and they're gonna have to decide how they wanna proceed with that. You know, they're pushing everybody into this renewable energy, but there just isn't gonna be enough to meet what we're hoping they would have.
No, they're estimating that they need 90 gigawatts more by 2040. They only got 37 now, but they're talking about getting rid of, most of that is generated by natural gas. In the last 20 years, I think they've added only 15 gigawatt or 14 gigawatts of new power. However, I think 8 or 9 of it was to replace coal-fired plants that they shut down in western New York, around Dunkirk. So the net gain was only 6 gigawatts over a 20-year period. That's why the legislature last year tagged the New York Power Authority to make up the shortfall. I imagine they were very excited about that, literally. So I don't know what they're going to do. There's more issues in there too, because they have said, I think it's 2026, any buildings up to 7-story new has to be all electric. And then I think it's 2027, anything above 7 stories has to be all electric. But at some point, they gotta go back, because they want every building that's been built in the last 100 years that's still standing to be converted to electric. They haven't touched that yet, and I don't know who's gonna wind up paying that bill.
Is that residential or is that?
That's everything. There was a discussion one time, a number of years ago, that they said the typical homeowner who's probably heating their house with natural gas or something, or oil, they would have to spend somewhere between $20,000 to $30,000 to convert their house over to all electric.
My house, I heat with oil, and everybody's like, why don't you change over to electric? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not cheap.
Yeah, I don't know how they're gonna do that. In the city, we're pretty in good shape residential. About 90 to 95% of the residential is already electric. They most of them converted like in the late 70s when the hydropower became available. There are pockets here and there where there's people still using oil or natural gas. That would have to convert at some point if they mandated it. Industrial, we're pretty, most of them are electric. SUNY has been talking about converting over from their central heating plant to all electric. And probably over the next 20 years looking at doing that. A hospital would have to do that. There's a big propane, no, I shouldn't say propane, excuse me, natural gas boiler that provides the steam for Georgia Pacific and Pactiv, that would have to be cut over. They had looked at it at one time. To make that work, it would have to be 40 megawatts of power to convert that boiler. So, back to the question you made last time, that sometime in the future, we're going to exceed, probably on a monthly basis, our allotment for hydro, and we will be buying, like some municipals, every month. But that's coming in the future.
That is very expensive.
Well, you probably will lose the crypto mines will vanish in a heartbeat, probably at that point.
Yeah, I see they have to expend more energy to get a single coin. Now, I think it'll almost double, I think.
Well, there's a halving period coming up again, I don't know when that's due. So, yeah, what they get now will only be half of it, because I don't know exactly, they're somewhere between 19 million on Bitcoin, they're somewhere between 19 million and 20 million. Supposedly, there's only 21 million max, so they gotta keep halving it in order to, they say it'll run out about 2040. Rough guess.
Market crash sooner than that.
Well, it's not up to, it was up at 64 yesterday, I guess it's around 60, 61 today.
It's 17.
Enjoy it. Probably gonna be in the 50s tomorrow.
Yeah, it was 60 the day before yesterday, 54 yesterday, 17 today. Mother Nature's doing all four seasons in a 24-hour period of time.
Well, it's late today, so gotta, make it interesting.
All right, well, it's 10 after, 5:10.
I think we beat up on Bill and up for the moment. You know, we must have some, anybody has anything else they'd like to bring up?
Okay.
Well, I didn't mean just with Bill, but any other items that we might have.
We're all on, question for Bill.
Well, he has to give a report. Okay. During our MLD meeting, so unfortunately for this one time, Bill will save you one way or another for next time, but
Do we want to do that, do we have to do that now, or wait?
no, we have to do that during the MLD meeting.
Okay.
All right, so we can't, do the meeting ahead of time, it's like that said.
Right, but if we don't have anything to work on right now.
Oh, yeah, take a break. Only,
Please feel free to sit. Yeah, if you want to sit down for 20 minutes.
And so, I know Jacob, you had mentioned talking about redistricting.
Jess was mentioning all the things that we've been talking about in work sessions, including redistricting, and we talked about SUNY as well.
Right.
So you were, I don't know what we're doing about, wanted to talk about items that we've been talking about for the last 2 months. but we just
well,
lost track of.
I want to make a list so that we make sure to get back to things that, we bring up and then
Make
2 or
sure
3
we circle
meetings
back.
later, it's like, oh, we forgot all about that.
Right.
So, if you don't have to compile a list right now, but if you think of anything, what you could right now, and I'll write them down, I'm gonna try to make a spreadsheet with, the mayor suggested that we might wanna look into that, and I think it's a good idea to not lose certain items that
I agree.
we have all these discussions about, and then we just don't get back to it.
Well, definitely the redistricting and the, college liaison, correct? Do we want to talk about any of those topics right now, or is that something that can be talked about?
Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone has.
So let's questions next Monday for redistricting, that'll be a conversation, I know I sent an email regarding those items, we'll be talking more about that Monday. I guess I will say the student piece, Jeff and I have been talking about that with the mayor and establishing it from a city perspective, working with Dean on what that language looks like, and then coming to have that conversation with council. Right now, still figuring out what that language based on the task force. I can give those two updates.
Yeah, the only catch I saw in that was like having 4 members, that's a quorum, so it would be, we wouldn't be able to meet like 4 counselors with 4 college people, or however many you want. You would have to be 3 or smaller.
Well, the proposal right now, the language, put the cart ahead of the horse a little bit, is 4 city representatives with pro temp chairing and 4 SUNY representatives was the potential draft at the discretion of SUNY. But that language is still being chewed out in the mayor's office.
Yeah, because the question came up, like, would we be making, for lack of a better way of explaining it, deals or something? But it's really just to discuss what some mutual advantages would be. I know, like, in the past, there was a big report on that. You know, the campus police kind of coordinated with our police force to, like, kind of coordinate as to what each group was doing, or if they needed help or whatever. They had a much closer relationship, and I think it's not a bad idea. They're full-fledged police officers, so it's, you know,
What happened to that relationship?
You know,
well, I just, at some point, they stopped meeting.
right? There's been
Yeah,
2
they-
iterations in the last
kind
20.
And then it was, we tried to revive it, probably about 4 years ago. I don't know,
Yeah, there's been 2 iterations of it. There was one originally established, the Plattsburgh City Campus Coalition, and that goes back to 2004-ish. It was sustained basically by the campus up until 2013, from my understanding, 2012, 2013, so it kind of fizzled out. Like Jeff was indicating, essentially people have left, graduated, interest changed, and then it was revived by the campus on the president's office, from my understanding. And this is the meeting that Jeff, at the time Mayor Reed, went to, called Link, and that was a long or fair connection with, I'm forgetting it, John Bernardi. Why am I forgetting that office? Someone help me, because
United Way,
excuse me.
United Way.
United Way, thank you. That's embarrassing, I apologize. But in a larger partnership with multiple folks in getting off the ground, that fell apart for a lot of reasons, COVID. That was really, that's my first time meeting Council Moore ultimately, was March 2020. So when that started falling apart. So that's where that is coming from.
But the thing we have to keep in mind there is, you know, our college is a big part of the city, population-wise and money-wise. I mean, I know I went through when Wyeth closed, and you don't realize how much that contributes to the community. We want to stay on top of that, and if there's any chance at some point we need to, you know, advocate for the college staying, or if there's, you know, nobody thought the base would ever leave, but, and I think we were a little slow on the draw on that, and I don't think everybody reacted quick enough, and we ended up losing the base, so, you know, same goes for the college. That's a big piece of Plattsburgh, so, and now it's merging, but I can tell you from looking at the state budget, which is not finalized.
No, it's not merging. I just want to make it clear.
Or not,
Public.
yeah.
That's
They're just over there now.
that's something, yeah, not merging.
Cool happening. But,
And using some of the buildings.
you know, that stuff can go south pretty quick, and I know the state budget, as it stands now, looks pretty much like it's gonna be another big deficit. They're trying to make up the money by cutting expenses. We all know how that works. It's very difficult to cut enough expenses to spend more in another area. You know, the revenue expenses thing doesn't add up when you try to do that. Thinking about closing some prisons and things like that, but that's not gonna make up the difference. It's a, what we call a structural deficit. It's, they are gonna end up cutting school aid or something, and it's gonna come out, it's, instead of coming out of this pocket, it's gonna come out of local school districts' pockets or whatever. So we have to stay on top of that. And I think the college it's a very good resource for us. So we need to advocate for them. I cannot imagine what it would be like if we lost all those jobs. Yeah, and I'm not trying to say that's a danger, but you never know. I mean, they're looking to cut costs all the time. I can remember when, oh, they won't close these prisons, or they won't do this, and it happens. So, we need to stay on top of that. Stay on top of the information they have, because if there is any issue, they can alert us to it before it's too late. I know that state tracks look at Plastow, I mean, that's a reality. And I know back in the original days, they wanted everybody to be within, I don't know, something like an hour's drive or 2 hours drive from a four-year college, but I don't know if that's gonna hold up forever, so. And thanks, Jacob, for, getting involved in this. I really hope we can end up meeting with the college again. They're a group we need to stay in touch with. And make sure you give us 10-minute recess before we start the other meeting here, but we'll get nothing too deep, but. Yeah, this has been a real lucky year for snow removal too, and salt. We're making out like bandits on this stuff. But I don't know if the climate change has advanced that far that we should expect this stuff. I mean, this is the weirdest winter I've
It's
ever
El
seen.
Nino, so.
I mean, they said it was a record this year for the warmest winter. It's still not gonna stop anybody from wanting to go to Florida, though.
So as far as redistricting, is there anything you're?
Well, I know from reading, I started reading those newsletters, and we're not alone like this. The state, I think, just finished their congressional districts. They went to court, the legislature didn't pass it, and they went to some other maps that they had done, and I guess finally they okayed it, so I think they're in the clear now. So we're not the only ones in the world.
Well, I mean, there was the whole thing called COVID that kind of delayed a lot of stuff, so,
Oh, yeah, for sure. So anyway, I guess just gotta wrap up our end of it. Make sure, I did find out like the ultimate thing, if no one can agree on anything, the state will just appoint a group to come in and do the redistricting for you.
So the next step is meeting with the fellow on,
Well, we gotta find out what our next step is, because we haven't even voted on the original proposal. I mean, but I know there was a lot of not consensus on that one. So we need to see how we maybe get from point A to point B, or we get from where we are now to having some finalized maps.
I mean, you've got the census numbers, so that's the first step in the whole process, right? Getting the census numbers.
Yeah, and then you have to draw the maps up. I learned a lot, or a little bit about that. Those little boxes that you see on the maps with the little numbers on them, they're called census blocks. And generally, they don't change those. You have to, I think, request if you want one to change them. I think all the on-campus housing, almost all of it is in one census block. It would behoove us a lot to have that census block be divided in two, perhaps. Somewhat divided, so you don't have half a ward's worth of people that are on campus. Well, a good example of where that can mess things up, like we're gonna have some primaries this year. They're gonna be in June. Well, a lot of the students are not gonna be here. So if that's half of your ward is not there. So
It's not,
I don't
that's
know,
not right.
there must be some way to solve that. But- So anyway, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And there's hundreds of ways you can array those census blocks to get the numbers that you need. So there's a lot of flexibility there, but just somebody has to sit down and not make the numbers come out, well, hopefully make it kind of somewhat fair so that you don't have, like, if you had all the college students in one ward, it would be all college students. So you kind of maybe, not that they aren't people and they could vote in our elections, but like in the case of the primaries, there would be a large number of people that wouldn't be able to vote. So I don't know, anyway, there's a lot of things to look at. I'm not an expert on that for sure. All I know is that there's a lot of ways to do it. All I know. And that we have to come up with something. We can't just not do anything. I know that's not an answer either. We can't do that. Sooner or later, well, actually, what happened, like I said, what will happen, they'll appoint they call it, redistricting experts. And this has happened in other places in the state. It's not unique. They'll come in and they'll do it for you and say, hey, here it is. This is what you got. So in any event, we will have some maps at the end of things, whether we can come to an agreement or not. So I don't want to beat that to death, but like I said, we need somebody to tell us what our options are. This guy is an expert. I should have sent you his page. He's been doing this for like 40 years. And he teaches this at New York Law, so he knows way more than we do. He's done books on redistricting.
Well, it's nice that he's willing to take the time to talk to us, to help us out with this. That's a good deal.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't want to try to, we need to like, he said he could give us an hour for be sure, but I don't know, you know, you try to keep him on the hook for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I think he's gone.
Yeah, yeah. So we should get what's important, or what, you know, what's viable, we want to know and to get it out there. First.
Well, I think we have about 7 minutes left, so everybody wants to take a break and we'll come back and get Bill home from supper.
And me.
And
Everybody wants to eat.
Dave. Okay, so we can recess till we have our.
Right, how we got?